How's it going, everybody? Fernando, Todd, both from Halos and Infield. We're joined here by Heath Bell to talk Padres, Angels, and where both organizations are going forward. All of that and more coming up next.
Hey, you are now listening or watching the Halos in the Infield podcast, sponsored in part by Noble L Works over on 1621 South Sinclair, where you can get discounts by just mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield, drink discounts on us, baby. And also by 714 Tickets, 714 Tickets. The price you see is the price you get, and you also get 10% additionally off in the Apply Now code once you order your tickets just by mentioning HITI, Halos in the Infield. Now enjoy the show.
In the land of Astros, I play my part with the Halos in the infield. I'll make my mark. I'm the Lone Star Halo, shining bright tonight. In a sea of Rangers, I'll stand and fight with the Halos in the outfield under stadium lights. From Texas to Anaheim, we'll soar to new heights. We'll soar to new heights.
Hey, welcome into the Lone Star podcast with your host, Todd Fox, along with the Lone Star, Fernando. And again, checking in, the pitcher, the closer, Heath Bell.
Hey, how you guys doing?
He's an average Joe, as he likes to describe himself, a man of the people. And we're going to talk down to the man of the people, as well as he will talk with us as we talk about Angels baseball, Padres baseball, and much more. Fernando, what subject do you want to hit first?
I figure we can get the fanboy kind of questions out of the way first. We'll get those done quickly so we can really get to talking about where the organizations are. You had a question for Heath, if you want to start off with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to start off like he mentioned in the pre-talk about, pitching in Anaheim Stadium. He grew up outside of Anaheim in Tustin, right, Heath?
Yeah.
And it was like surreal for him to pitch there. He had some good experiences and stuff like that. And tell us a little bit what you were telling me off air about how you would go into every stadium, first off.
So when I first got called up with the New York Mets, my motto was not look at any of the fans, just keep my head down and pitch and play the game. And then after I think a week went by, it was probably more like 2-3 days. I kind of wanted to look up and instead of just focus on the game. So what I did is I would get to the ballpark every ballpark that I've played in, I've done this. If MLB TV was there, back in the day, they probably would have caught it. But my team shorts and shirt, I'd show up and I would literally get on the mound. Sometimes the grounds crew is out there. I'd pretend like I was playing shortstop or hitting and be in the outfield. I actually went in the home dugouts just to kind of because I was a big fan of baseball and everything. So it was one of those things that, I went in the visitors bullpen, our bullpen. I went everywhere. I've been in the stadiums just, I went to the nosebleed because as a kid, I went to the cheapest seats ever in the outfield, behind home. I was everywhere. So I've pretty much seen every stadium except for, the only stadium I haven't been to is the new Braves stadium, but I can see the field from every direction because I went everywhere a fan can go and then everywhere a player could go. So it was just to kind of get the jitters out of me and just to kind of man, I'm playing, Anaheim Stadium or Dodger Stadium or
Fenway,
Yankee Stadium, Fenway, Wrigley, all those great stadiums. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, real quick, Fernando, last part of that question. I just wanted to know, what was his favorite stadium to do that, and what was your least favorite? Because I think the least favorite. I hope I guess it right, but go ahead.
Okay. Just to walk around and look, or play.
To walk around and be like, man, if I was a fan of this team, I'd hate this joint. One of those.
Or the place I didn't like the best.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, the old Braves stadium was pretty bad.
I didn't get to go to Turner Field. I've driven by it. Is it really that bad?
The old one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the old Olympic Stadium that they cut short and made it into a baseball field. So there was nothing cool about it. There was nothing fun about it.
No
The best place I loved to go was I'd probably like Philadelphia because there was a lot of cool things. One of the places I was really bummed out about was New City Field,
Okay.
just because the old Shea Stadium, and I thought they could have done so much more. The Mets could have done so much more with the stadium, but
Okay,
yeah.
I was wrong because my guess was the old Expos, the Olympic Stadium up there.
Oh,
I
well,
thought,
here's the thing. Montreal was the best place to like have team parties.
oh, okay.
And it was not playing there. You could hear everybody's conversation because there's only a few thousand people there. But it was, I was young and it was more just, we're going to a team party and don't do anything stupid except for, I was air guitaring with Mike Piazza back in the day. And I guess Johnny Franco found me stumbling through the city of Montreal, trying to get back to the hotel. So there's some good times and good times I don't remember. So
Fair enough.
You probably not knowing French didn't help, right?
oui.
Yeah, there it is.
There
It's
you
on
go.
make it.
Go for it, Fernando. My bad. I just had to fanboy that one out.
All right, so I have one, baseball question about your career, and then one that could like kind of transition us to talking about the two teams. So number one, so I know you're going to be humble. You're going to be like, no. So what was it like to replace Trevor Hoffman as a closer in San Diego? Because you were the setup man for him, for a while, and then he goes to Milwaukee. And now you are in a position where people are expecting you to be the guy. And, don't be humble. You came out in full force and had an amazing year as a closer that year. So what was it like knowing I got to replace, at that point, the greatest closer of all time?
So here's the thing, I've always wanted, ever since I got to college, I was closing games out. And then in pro ball, I started closing games. So I kind of wanted to take Johnny Franco's job because I was with the Mets organization. But things didn't happen that way. And they signed Billy Wagner, and then they traded me off to San Diego, and they didn't re-sign Trevor. So it was, it was basically my job to lose. And maybe I'm a good closer because I'm a little bit different than everybody. I told everybody, he goes, look, I got to step up and be the guy here in San Diego, but I'm never going to replace Trevor Hoffman. And I don't care how many saves I get this year. I want to be number 2 in San Diego. I want to be the second best closer in San Diego. So that was my goal from the get-go. And so I never wanted to replace Trevor. And some reporters asked me, like, hey, what's it like filling Trevor Hoffman's shoes? And I go, I can't fill his shoes. I wear size 13. He wears a 14. I can't fill them. So that was just those my comments, but they were real comments, as in I was just going out and try to do what I wanted to do as a closer. And I wasn't trying to replace him. And the funny part is my song, it was Blow Me Away from Breaking Benjamin.
I remember.
It has a couple bells in the beginning with like some monks singing or whatever. And if you notice the first half of the season, they didn't play the bells at all. And I'm like, my last name is Bell. They're like, it's too close to Hell's Bells. And I'm like, have you heard of both songs? They could be totally different. I said, my last name is Bell. There's a reason there's a bell in the song, because me. Yeah. So it was funny. And then I said, I made a deal with the front office. I said, look, if I make the All-Star game this year, you're going to put the bells in after the All-Star game. And I made the All-Star game, went to St. Louis, came back. The first game back, I saved the game at home. There was no bells. I was in full uniform, cleats and everything, and went up to the radio booth and said, where the hell are my bells? Because we made a promise. You guys were in the meeting with the front office and everything. My last name is Bell. I got to have some bells in there. I was no disrespect against Trevor Hoffman, and like the songs could be two different. They're totally different songs. So anyway, it's a little tidbit that a lot of people don't know.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. No, I remember Blow Me Away. I remember it very, very vividly. It was it's definitely a good entrance to come out to.
I think the only more perfect bell is if you would have pitched in Philly at, with the field that they have now where they play the bell, the big guys.
Well, when I was a free agent, I was trying to sign with Philly and they signed Papelbon.
Oh, bad mistake.
Is that when you went to Miami?
Yeah, that's when I went to Miami. San Diego never offered me any money, even though they never even offered me a contract. And Jed Hoyer, that was our GM that left and went to the Cubs, he actually told me that they were going to trade me. So go to free agency. The owner there is going to trade you with the Padres. So you need to leave, because he knew how much I wanted to stay in San Diego. But he's like, he's not going to make it happen. He's going to get rid of you somehow.
Huh. Who was the closer after that? I'm blanking on. I lived in San Diego for 20 years. Yes,
it was Hand.
Brad Hand. Okay.
Yeah, Brad Hand.
Yeah, okay, Brad Hand. I remember that. I think after that was probably Brandon Maurer.
Real quick, the media drop off from New York to San Diego, the way they would probably hound you in New York, was that a pleasant surprise being in San Diego?
You know what the pleasant surprise was the front office and the coaching staff. That's what the surprise was. The media I never had an issue with, because I was very open and honest. Just kind of said my things, and some people took it as serious and some people took it as joking. But I didn't really talk to him too much. But it was the Mets coaches were like, you need to look a certain way. You need to wear a uniform a certain way. And basically they were saying I didn't look good in a uniform. I was fat. And when I came to San Diego, I asked a couple questions, some coaches, and they were like, we don't care what you look like as long as you get people out. That's all. Where the Mets was it's how I looked and how Rick Peterson was my pitching coach with New York, and I would strike a guy out, with a high fastball or something like this. And he's like, you need to get the ball down. You can't always throw the ball up in the zone. You're not going to have a career like that. And then I go to San Diego and they're like, man, if you like throwing the high fastball and get everybody out, get them out. We don't care. If that's get people out, get them out. So it was a different breed. The media was, there was a lot of media, and in New York, I learned don't say a whole lot of things in the clubhouse, because you could just be sitting there joking around in the clubhouse and you got 20 media guys there. And, there's like 5 of them that are eavesdropping on every conversation. Mm-hmm. In San Diego, there's like 2 or 3, and they're not really eavesdropping. If they hear something, they'll come over. They're a little bit more respectful, and they're coming over and saying, hey, what was that all about?
So who was it for San Diego? Was it Darren Balsley?
Yeah, Darren Balsley.
Okay, yeah, great pitching coach.
Great pitching coach. The Padres pitching staff has never been the same since then.
Yeah, very fair. And Buddy Black was a great manager too. Definitely got shafted in San Diego. So since you brought up the media in San Diego, did you hear about the Matt Kemp comments?
A little bit. Yeah, I heard about it.
Okay. I didn't love that.
It's just, I think Matt was frustrated from his playing time, and there's some players that like to blame other things instead of taking responsibility.
Yeah.
If I went to Miami and I didn't do well, I could have said it was Ozzie or this and that, and I just didn't perform well. Really, me and the catcher didn't see eye to eye, but really I'm the one who's got to throw the pitch and this and that. But there is saying something when you're shaking off every pitch and you can't get to your pitch, and it's just frustrating for you as a person and then you're trying to execute your pitch, and you're trying to tell him I want to do this, and he's like, no, we should do this. And so you just kind of clash, but at the end of the day, I'm throwing the pitch. I should be responsible for it.
That's fair. All right. So last question I have that's going to lead us into this, our Padres Angels topic. So from your years of playing baseball and, the years that you were in the bullpen, how important is it to have a lockdown closer at the back end of a bullpen for a team? And even as a fan now, supporting a team or even just watching baseball.
Honestly, for a team, it's not so much the closer. You need to have like your 7th, 8th, 9th inning guys. When your game's tied, or when you're up by 3 or less runs, your 7th inning guy needs to pitch the 7th, unless your starter's still going. The whole thing about lefty matchups or this or that, or hey, this team hits breaking balls well, so I'm going to throw a guy that throws hard more than breaking balls, or this and that. So what are we saying? Is there no closer anymore? Is there no 8th inning guy? There's no setup guy. It's all about just matchups. And as you see, the teams that are going out there setting up matchups, it doesn't work on a long period of time. It may work a series here, a series there, but over a course of a season, it's never going to work. There were some times that, I struggled a little bit, but the coaching staff and the guys in the bullpen knew I was our closer. There was guys that, when I was setting up, it was the same thing. I might not be on my A game, but everybody believed I was the setup guy, and it just evolved that way. And I think if a bullpen has a 7th, 8th, 9th inning guy, then the other team goes, crap. As soon as we get to those 2 or 3 guys in the pen, this game's over. But if it's like, well, hey, he pitched last night, so he's not going to pitch, tonight because he don't pitch 2 days in a row or 3 days in a row or whatever it is. The other team has the advantage. They're confident, and baseball's all about, if the pitcher's out there going, please don't get a hit, the hitter's going to get a hit. If the hitter's up there like, please walk me, I'm struggling today, well, you're probably going to get strike. You're going to strike out. So it's all a confidence game.
Yeah, those bullpen roles certainly don't exist as much as they used to nowadays.
The good teams, they exist, but not the mediocre teams or the teams that are trying to, like the Padres are a 500 team, but they're in second place. Come on. We should have their roles. I think we've blown some games because of the bullpen, because you put the wrong people in at the wrong time. You could even have a 6-inning guy. You could have 2 guys in the 6th, 2 guys for the 7th, but you really should have 8th and 9th guy. So and they're your workhorses. And if they pitch in 70 games, 80 games, well, they do it.
Yeah, some way, somehow, we've been calling it back to the analytics that the Angels do. Like we used to have a 6th-inning Donnelly, a 7th-inning Shields, an 8th-inning Frankie, and then a 9th-inning Percy. And we, like you said, you get to that 6th inning, you're in trouble, and as a team. And the way the Angels pitch now, even if they have a guy that's halfway decent like Hunter Strickland, they'll be like, nah, he pitched yesterday, he can't pitch today. It's like, I've never believed in that. Maybe if you've thrown 50, 60 pitches in 2 games, yeah, you rest him the 3rd game. But if he's only pitched like 30 pitches or less in 2 games, why not bring him back for a 3rd appearance? But we're on this analytics train right now.
It's like this, I know Mike Trout's not playing right now, but let's say Mike Trout is hitting 290. I don't know what he's hitting currently. And he struck out his first 2 at-bats. It's just not looking good. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take him out of the game. Because analytics says, he's probably not going to get a hit. But we're not going to do that to superstars. See, that's the funny part is analytics. We're so analytic baseball right now in the game, but they're not analytic with superstars.
Correct.
Absolutely. Making big money. So that doesn't make any sense to me. So you're going to be analytic for what? Half the team, and the other half of the team, you're just going to play old baseball. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to do it, you do it to everybody, and the whole thing about analytics, with Moneyball and all that, it was a movie. And do we all remember the season? And here's the thing is Oakland has not consistently been in first place, year in, year out. They haven't been like, the Astros or, whoever's just been there, the Dodgers. There's a little bit different. You could say the Dodgers are analytic, but the Dodgers go out and find good talent.
Absolutely. They have a great scouting department. Always have, really.
If you have a good talent, then you can, but every player on there is analytic. You look at Mookie Betts. Hey, to help the team, we need you to play short. Okay. So we know we're going to make some errors, but it's okay. That's the case is they're moving people around for that to happen. But, like say the Padres are real analytic. You got Cronenworth, the first baseman. Now he's a second baseman. And then sometimes he goes to short and then this and that. It's like, you just went and got a bunch of shortstops and then you just put them all over the defense. And I just don't believe that works because Adrian Gonzalez was one of the best first baseman, or Wally Joyner. They couldn't play short. No. My whole point is they weren't very good outfielders. If you put them in the outfield, lefties can play outfield, but they knew that instinct of first base of what to do. Shortstop, doesn't matter how good of an athlete he is, doesn't have the instinct to play other positions as good of somebody played second growing up or an outfield or first base. So analytics, I understand analytics, but I don't. Bochy said it the best in Texas last spring. Analytics, he goes, I like anything to help me make my decision. And I think that's great, but analytics shouldn't make the decision. It should just help you make your decision.
Yeah, it might help make something a little clearer, or maybe, hey, it's time to pull this guy. You look at the numbers.
Or like I'm gonna lead off the batter because he seems to get on all the time. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And Bruce Bochy has that down to a T. I mean, he's. I think it's fair to say at this point he's the greatest manager, at least of our generation and our lifetimes. I mean, you know, his track record speaks for itself. He's a winner wherever he goes. So,
because he knows baseball and he
Absolutely.
knows information. He doesn't just say, hey, you're a 22-year-old, you put a bunch of numbers in a computer. Okay, you don't know baseball because you can't throw a ball or something like that. He goes, oh, that's interesting. Okay, thank you. And that might help him down the road somewhere. I mean, Bochy's a great guy. He takes all the information and then all the information he knows and then puts it together. There you go. That's called baseball. That's called managing. That's called, doing your homework as your scouting report.
Yeah, because we wanted that healthy balance here in Anaheim. Mike Scioscia was never going to bite into the analytics sandwich. And they forced it on him, and you could tell this last couple of years, and that was it. And that's why he still doesn't have a job now. And then you have a guy like Joe Madden who just accepted everything and anything analytics, and he never really, managed with his gut. So like a Dusty Baker, Bruce Bochy, those guys found a perfect balance, like you described Bochy. I mean, that's how it's got to be a successful manager. I think when teams put too much into the analytics, you get what we have on the field in Anaheim routinely. A guy like Mickey Moniak, who by this time should have been DFA'd, because he's out of options, but we're continuing to play him because they quote unquote need to keep him in the lineup. So,
okay. Don't give Moniak too much crap, because I knew him in high school.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, as far as like, the way he's hitting,
Well, here's the thing. I think right now what Washington is doing with you guys is he's feeling out. He's basically told the management, hey, we're going to go and try to win, but I'm going to see what we have, and we're really going to start developing, and we'll have a sense, the second half of the season of who should be playing center, who should be doing this, who should that, or like say Moniak's playing. Where's he playing now? Left or right?
center.
He's playing center. So let's just say, Trout's going to be in center, but let's just say he was in left. Doesn't do well this year. Hey, I know Moniak, blah, 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 but we need to go find a left fielder, next year. I think that's what Washington is going to do. He's a good guy. I was really happy to see him get the managing job.
We were too.
But I think he's just seeing what he has this year, and then the second half really, okay, address this is what we're going to need for the future. And I think Washington will try to make a run, barring what the management wants to do next season or the season after that.
So you brought up Mike Trout, and I want to ask your opinion. Do you think where Trout is in his career, where he, hasn't had a healthy season since 2018, do you think it's time to start moving him elsewhere, perhaps to maybe – I don't think it's just time to DH him just yet, but maybe into one of those corner outfield spots, or maybe even consider moving him to first base like they did with Bryce Harper.
Here's the thing. You want my honest opinion?
Yeah, please.
You need to trade him.
Yeah,
plain and simple. Here's the thing: is Mike Trout wants to play for the team his whole career, and I get it and I respect it. But the thing is, the Angels need to either come to him and say, "Look, we're going to move you to first base, or we're going to DH you," or if you don't want to be traded, because you could bring so much more for this organization. And here's the thing: we tried, it didn't work. They tried all the wrong things, really, but Absolutely. It just hasn't worked, and you kind of have to move on. You got to go with young talent. And, I know he's been hurt, but he's still an unbelievable player. And I think you can get some prospects for him and, free up some money a little bit too. So, and then you could, be a little bit weary, kind of like the Cubs going to get a free agent here and there, but not make a big splash like you guys did 10 years ago.
Yeah, where it was sign everyone who was walking, Pujols, Hamilton.
Yeah, they offered me a 2-year deal, and the Marlins offered me 3. And literally Anaheim, it was 2 years, and I said, just give me an option year, and they said no, and that's the only reason I didn't sign, because I was trying to lock my kids up to all 4 of them go to college, and 3-year deal did that, not a 2-year. So I could have been Anaheim. That would have been a lot more fun than Marlins.
Was that when DePoto was there still, or when he had just gotten there?
With the Angels?
Yeah.
That's when you guys signed Albert and CJ Wilson and everybody. So I don't remember who when he first got there.
That was Epler, I believe.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. Oh, no, that wasn't Epler yet.
Wasn't Epler?
No, Epler didn't come around until about 2016. Yeah, could you imagine a world? Because think about it. Theoretically, the Angels would have gotten Heath Bell. They wouldn't have had to get Houston Street, which means they still would have had Ernesto Frieri. So they would have still had a solid back end of the bullpen. But I digress.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit of Angels there. Let's talk about the Padres and the state of where the Padres are. So surprisingly, the NL West is a little more competitive than I thought, in the sense of the Diamondbacks really haven't been in it this year. And they did the same kind of thing last year. They just kind of floated like a dead fish and eventually came to life when it mattered. The Giants have been getting hot at the right time, seemingly as they normally do. Obviously, the Dodgers are going to Dodger. Where do you think truly the Padres are? Are they the second best team in the division?
Right now, they're the second best team in the division. The problem is I don't see them getting hot, unfortunately. I mean, I think they're going to sneak into the playoffs this year. It's just my gut feeling, but me looking back on just looking from the outside in, they're a 500 team, and if the West doesn't have a team if the Giants don't get hot at the right time or Arizona, the Giants or Arizona gets hot like they did last year, I think the Padres will just kind of sit there for some reason. I mean, we're the only team that hasn't swept anybody, and you guys swept us, and the Rockies swept us. So the last place teams like to sweep us, but we can't sweep anybody. But we can win the series against first place teams, but we just can't. We can't put people away, and I've been saying this for years. Our GM, our front office is not the right guy because it all trickles down to him, because I believe he's super analytics, and the managers that he gets, he wants to control. And it really, the GM, I believe, or the president of baseball operations nowadays is the GM to me. But what it is he basically says, hey, I'm going to sign this manager. I'm going to give you a bunch of players, and I'll give you all the information possible. And then the manager, it's up to him. But if the GM is talking to the manager and telling him what to do and who to play and listen to this and do that, then, the manager is not really managing. He's just babysitting.
Well, Fernando,
that's happened in San Diego the last couple of years.
That sounds like our organization.
So
you guys had Joe Madden that I think is too lackadaisical, and that didn't do well. I just think you guys, here's the thing with the Angels, somewhat with the Padres a little bit, but I don't know the Angels as well. But me on the outside saying it, looking in, going, you guys don't have a culture of this is the way to do it. And you need to have a manager or a GM to come in and say, guys, this is what we're doing. I don't care if you're Mike Trout. I don't care if you're this. You could, let's just say let's just play hypothetical and I'm the GM. I would call Mike Trout up and say, look, this is how I want everything to go. I want everybody to bust everything out, run hard. I want to out-hustle every team. I don't care if we lose 100 games. I want to out-hustle every team. Are you on board with it? And if he says no, then I would get rid of his butt. But my whole point is everybody, that's the culture. Like, we play hard here. It's kind of like Philly. Philly hasn't been a really good team, and lately they have, but they always grind. They always play. They never give up. Well, they have a culture. The Yankees are, clean shaven all the time, this and that. A lot of teams have cultures. Seattle's starting to build a culture up there. The Padres have somewhat of a culture, but I feel like sometimes it gets confused sometimes with the guys they've signed. We got some big name guys that don't play as hard and don't run things out. And then we have guys that should be playing, but then, who knows who's playing what position, because it seems like everybody's playing every position nowadays down there. So, but the Angels just need like a culture. And, Washington, I think, is good enough to kind of like, if you give him 3 or 4 years, he'll build a culture there in Orange County. And I think he'll do well, or LA, as I should say now.
No, please don't say LA.
Give it the time, Heath. Yeah, I think the Padres' problem is, like you said, they have a lot of athleticism, but you have a ton of infielders on that team. I mean, you have seven
shortstops.
Yeah, I mean, you have Tatis, and I understand he led the league in errors when he was a shortstop, but he's very athletic.
Okay.
You have Jake Cronenworth.
That was the shortstop.
You had Hassan Kim.
It's a
He was
shortstop.
signed as shortstop. You had Xander Bogaerts.
It's a shortstop.
Machado was a shortstop at one point.
Shortstop. Who's the center fielder? The new kid.
Merrill?
Yep. He's
Was he
a shortstop.
Was he really?
Is it you guys are just drafting shortstops, or
I think honestly, no, because we've traded a bunch of guys away. Is they're big on your athleticism. Can you be moved? Can you quit? Can you move a range? I mean, heck, if I was in the organization now, I was really not flexible at all, but I could throw hard and I could move quick, but I didn't look the part. They probably would have got rid of me, or I wouldn't have got called up. It's kind of like the old Mets days back in the day. So, Cecil Fielder, Prince Fielder, Altuve, those guys don't look the part, but they're great players.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, you don't have to look the part to be a great player. That's the funny part. That's why baseball's so unique in America's game, because you can be Richie Sexton that was like 7 foot tall and hit balls and stuff, or you could be really short like Altuve, or you could be real wide like me or Broxton or the fielders. So it's just different, So
Vlad Guerrero comes to mind.
Yeah,
Vlad,
you get everything.
Yeah.
And you could hit. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. Well, don't swing at a ball over your head. Why? I hit that one out of the park all the time. It's like that.
Yeah.
Don't swing at the ones that bounce. Why? I can hit a double.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So are the Padres on the right track in your opinion? So you kind of already, aired out your feelings about AJ Preller. Now, AJ Preller has been there for what, roughly 10 years now?
Yeah.
And I think
6 different managers.
And the Padres have had a couple of quote unquote rebuilds in that time. So he came and in 2015 became the rockstar GM, that whole thing, the Matt Kemp, Upton, Will Myers, James Shields, they went all in. Okay. And then they eventually traded all those guys and they went to the hot talent lava phase. If you remember hearing that phrase,
Yep.
Franmil Reyes, Josh Naylor, those kind of guys. And they essentially traded every single one of those guys and dispersed them to then have their most current run, the Juan Soto run, Eric Hosmer. Where they are right now, is this where they need to be as an organization, or is it time to pivot or restart?
I think they have here's the point is I think they have the right guys to go in the right direction. I just feel like they don't know what direction they're going in. If that's to be example, like you have the right car, you've got the right passenger, you got a full tank of gas, you just don't know where to go. You're going to say you want to win a World Series and stuff like that. But, here's the thing. My big belief is like when I said in the bullpen, you got to have a 7th, 8th inning guy. You got to have roles. When you come in the ballpark and you're playing first base every day, and maybe you take a day off here and there, that's fine. Or if you're struggling hitting, I get it and all that, something. But if every day you come in and you don't know what glove to put on, your second baseman's glove, your shortstop glove, I'm playing the outfield, I'm not playing the outfield, what's that going to say with the younger guys? Not every athlete can do it. Cohenworth's been doing great, but I thought he was our first baseman. And then my son is he does a podcast with me. He's a huge Padre fan, probably more anal than I am. He's one of those bad fans, I guess you could say. Come on, he's making 20, 30 million a year. He should not strike out a fastball down the middle. It's like, he's trying, right?
Yeah.
Like I was there, I get it. Or, you got to make the pitch, but it's one of those things that Cohenworth has been doing great. And then somebody gets hurt. Oh, we need you at second. Well, there's a second baseman that we have on the bench, or we could call somebody up, why does he have to move? And then what if, Hassan Kim gets hurt? Now, does he move over there? But here's the other thing. We're not going to move Machado, the stud, so it's kind of like the young guys. Do they need to learn in AA and AAA? Do they need to learn to play every position and can't be a master at one position? They have to be a jack of all trades. And, I'd rather be a master at one than know, 10 different things. So it's just one of those things like relievers are usually not really good starters, and starters don't really tend to be really good relievers, but we're going to put him there because we like him or he's got a good arm. Okay, great. lefty specialist should be your lefty guy. And then, you should have your main guys come in, your like 7th, 8th inning, or at least 8th, 9th inning guy. And every game that is like that, unless like Trevor wouldn't pitch more than 3 days in a row. And that 4th day, they would ask me to do it or somebody else to do it. Well, that's fine, but it should be, you should do that. But analytics, well, you're not as good as your third day as your second day or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, so we don't have roles anymore. We're just, nobody knows when they're going to pitch. Nobody knows when. I mean, we went out and got the closer last year. They went to Hader.
Yeah.
Hader was looking to get a big free agent money that he did, and I'm happy for him. But he wouldn't pitch 2 days in a row. He didn't care.
Wanted to save his arm, yeah, especially during the playoff push, right? That was the whole thing.
The whole thing is, okay, you're going to get stars and stuff, but here's the thing. Are you going to get guys that want to win, or are they want to get paid? So, the whole football does a good job at it. When they draft guys, they do some analytics, or they not analytics, but they interview the guys. Mm-hmm. Maybe we need to interview guys that get called up and this and that, just because we need to know what kind of guys they are before free agency and stuff. So,
I mean, that would have benefited the Angels with number 6. I won't say his name, but he hates baseball. That would have been a first red flag if I was a scout for the Angels.
The funny part is I play with them in Washington, and I didn't expect that at all. So,
okay. Does that make you upset though, like as a teammate, if like you hear, someone saying that, let alone someone who's probably making, 3 times your salary, for a typical player?
Well, here's the thing. I think everybody realized what he meant. His family's first, God's first. That's all right. Of course. Your family's first, and then your job's second. But
everybody would say that, yes. But
the thing is, it's just him not trying and him doing this and that. It's almost like he was like, I don't really care about baseball. Mm-hmm. You pay me a lot of money, so I'm going to be here. But that's about it. If I was getting paid the league minimum, I wouldn't be here. That's basically the attitude he has. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to try to do my best, but my family comes first. But when I'm out here, this is my family here. So it's just, I think it's frustrating for you guys. You guys have signed, you signed Albert Pujols. He didn't pan out. You signed whatchamacallit from Texas. He didn't pan out.
C.J. Wilson? Oh, Hamilton.
Well, C.J. Wilson.
Josh Hamilton.
Yeah, Josh.
Gary Matthews Jr.
Then Matthews, I think but it wasn't like a huge contract. It was kind of big, but it wasn't like 10 years.
Yeah.
And then Anthony, you're kind of like stuck. It's almost like, you know what? Eat the money and go. Because it would be probably better if you brought a young shortstop or a third baseman up and said, here you go, and say, okay, go home. We'll pay you 20 or 30 million, whatever you're making, because we're going to move past you.
Yeah, I mean, it's because there's too many things. I mean, if he had a different attitude this entire time while he was hurt, the Angels fans have shown that they've been very loyal to their players. But the things that he's said has just even pushed people away to where he got renownedly booed on opening day, almost as much as Artie on the Jumbotron. But our thing was, when he first signed with us, we were expecting Garrett Cole, but Garrett Cole took a little bit more money from the Yankees, and, maybe we weren't able to pony up. But the way we signed Rendon, it felt like fantasy football. It's like, well, next available player. And it was,
you go to auto draft or fantasy, you know what I mean? You have to go to the bathroom real quick and you come back.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
And everyone that day, I remember even I said that to I called my friends. I'm like, bro can't pitch. We need pitching, so. And
here's the thing. If on a fantasy world, I mean, I'd love to get back in baseball, and I'm trying to get doing that. And the biggest thing I'm getting the last 2 years is you're part of the old regime that knows baseball, but doesn't know analytics. And I'm like, analytics are good. It helps you make your decision, but they're just not like the number one key. And maybe that I shouldn't be saying that during interviews and stuff. But here's the thing. If I was the Angels GM, I would tell the owner, say, look, it's kind of what the Cubs did when Theo went there. Give me 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
We'll compete in 5 or 6 years. And they ended up doing it in 4 and winning a World Series. But let's see what we have. Let's see what we have here. Let's start building this. And then we'll go get, we won't go get the top name guy, but we'll go get this guy. We'll get that guy to help out. Like, maybe you guys need somebody that gets on base. So let's go find that guy. You don't need to sign a huge guy. Sign him, get 1-2 year deal, maybe you guys need a second baseman, something like that. Maybe you guys need a fast guy that comes off the bench and steals bases. Maybe that's the guy you need, like an old Dave Roberts.
Yeah.
So
Chuck
you need
Higgins.
to see what you have before you can go out and get big name free agents.
Yeah. I think free agency is great for, as you said, filling in holes or adding complementary pieces. I mean, look at the Texas Rangers, right? They just won the World Series last year. 2 years ago, when they signed Corey Seager and Marcus Semien and spent about $1 billion for those two guys combined, everyone's like, dude, Chris Young's off his rocker. What's he doing? This guy's an idiot. And look what happened. They knew what was brewing in the minors. Josh Jung came up, was successful, and they had these other complementary pieces that they added. Travis Jankowski was not a great Padre, but he was a great guy coming off the bench for.
Well, the funny part, Jankowski never got to play because analytics says he was just a base runner, bench guy, never going to be a starter,
Absolutely.
everyday guy, just kind of like me with the Mets, where Chris Young in Texas, we don't have a shortstop and second baseman coming up. We got some outfield, we got some corner guys, so we need
and
to
a lot of starters. They had a lot of starters in Frisco at the time.
Yeah, so we need those guys. You need a good core up the middle, and then you need a good core, like you need 3 good solid starters, and you need about 3 or 4 good solid relievers. And then you could just fill in with 1-year deals here and there, and they've been doing a really good job in Texas. Chris Young,
Absolutely.
is really smart in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, really smart dude. So, yeah, he clearly did an amazing job with the Texas Rangers. And, I mean, we were all surprised when they made those signings. The baseball world was confused, but he obviously knew something we didn't. And
well, here's the thing. When you sign guys, you're like, this is the year. If your front office is like, we're signing this guy so we can be good in 2 or 3 years, you don't tell your fans that. You're like, hey, we're gonna sign these guys, but you had a plan. Like I said, you go out and you try to sign for today and the future. Like, be honest with yourself. Like, I hated the Padres the last couple years ago. Well, we had the best record of all of baseball in the month of September, and I'd be like, oh, when people started bringing up their young talent, not caring.
Yeah.
And we're not bringing up young talent, and we're just playing our regular guys. Like, wow. Or they're like, we put a team together. This is before Tatis and stuff. We put a team together to win this year. I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, you didn't.
Hey, in all fairness, you were on that 2010 Padres team that was not expected to contend, and that was a great year. It came down to the last game of the year.
Well, and that year, sorry to interrupt you, that year we were doing great until the trade deadline. Then we got Ryan Ludwig, that's a good friend of mine.
Ryan Ludwig from the Cardinals, yep.
And we got Tejada playing short.
Miguel Tejada, yeah, from the Orioles.
So both of them started playing all the time. Both of them didn't play that well. And we went south. And the thing is, like, we had Chase Headley and Harrison flip-flop in the outfield. And we had, Wilson and whoever we had playing short, but we had it where, like, if you didn't get a hit that day, your next guy would come up, and if he got a hit or 2, he would stay, and we were playing as a team. And it was like, okay, you got 2 hits, you got a hit today, I'm probably not going to play, but if you don't get 2 hits in your first 2 or 3 at bats, I'm probably going to pitch hit later in the game. If I get a hit, I'm going to play. And that's the way we were playing, and we were winning because we were a good team, and everybody on the team was playing. There was nobody really sitting the bench. And then when we made that trade, and Bud Black will probably tell you if you ever have an interview with him, after that trade, those 2 guys played all the time, and their other guys just sat the bench and didn't play much. And then they got rusty because they weren't playing. They wouldn't play for like a week. And then all of a sudden they expect them to go out there and the rhythm's off, this and that. And then September just wasn't good for us. So, and it came down to that last game. So
yeah, that was
what Matt Latos. Matt Latos pitched that last game, but got a huge tattoo from like here to here. The night before, we're all like, "What are you doing?"
I remember Matt Latos very well. I've had a chance to meet him. I had a friend who was his ex-wife. So enough said there. So, in closing, so we talked a little bit about the Padres and where they are. I want to ask your opinion on the Angels and where you believe they are. So, you already said what a lot of Angels fans are starting to, come to grips with. Like, okay, it might be time to move on from Mike Trout. So, where the Angels currently are, and from what I don't know how much you know about them. Do you believe that this is a team that in a couple years might win since they have the foundation of, Zach Neto, Nolan Shanuel, some of these young guys?
Your young guys are there. You just need some better solid pitching. I don't know. You need to go find some young pitching. Maybe not too young, like some veteran. Like, here's the thing: you need to sign one veteran guy that's going to be there for 2 to 3 years. That's going to show young pitchers how to do it. Say just 2 years, or bring him in for a year with an option or something.
So not like what Tyler Anderson is for them right now.
No, I would get a young guy that basically throws, has like a 4 ERA, then just wins he wins 10 and loses 10. He's probably a no-namer. Nobody. It's kind of like I'm not saying Clayton Richard was a bad, no-namer, but Clayton Richard, solid guy, or like Rich Hill, he's kind of at the end, but something like that, just to come in and go, hey, I'm basically going to pay you a little bit more than, say you should be worth $1 million. I'm going to pay you $2 million because I want you to take these guys out. This is the role I want you to play.
Okay. Secondary pitching coach, really.
Pretty much. Just kind of like you talk to the pitchers, this is what you're going to do. And then what you guys need to do is you need to figure out what you're going to do with Trout. If Trout's going to be there for long haul, great. Hey, man, you're going to probably have to play first base, DH. We're going to have to figure it out. Okay. You have to probably, unless Rendon kind of turns it around, you're going to have to get rid of him. You're just going to have to eat it. You're going to have to wash it, whatever you do. But then you're going to have to build the culture with your young guys, because if you have Mike Trout that keeps getting hurt, that wants to play center, and there's always that rumor around, the young guys are like, well, man, will you just move on, this and that? Or if you have Rendon, that's just, is he there? Is he not there? What's the, people are just going to get frustrated in the clubhouse. You might love Rendon. He might be a great guy. That I think he's a good guy. I really do, because I played with him for a little bit. And, but there's the mystique around there that he doesn't want to be there. Well, the young guys are going to feel that, they're going to know that. So it's going to be like, well, he should just move on or should not show up. And now they're not thinking about playing and doing that. So with your guys' young talent, I think you guys have a shot in the next couple of years, but it's, what are you going to do with the pieces that shouldn't be there? And the pieces shouldn't be there. Really, it's those two guys that I was talking about. Not saying they shouldn't be there, but their attitude needs to change, or just the direction they're in needs to change, if that's a better word of saying, like Trout, do you going to move on, or are you going to stay here? Because if you're going to stay here, probably we're going to move you probably to first. It's not a bad thing.
No.
A lot of guys move to first in their day, or like once in a while we can put you in the outfield, but we want you to stay healthy. That's the biggest key. You're
no good to us hurt.
Yeah. You're no good to the organization. You want to stay with this organization. You want this organization to win, then you need to start making some organizational decisions, not just your own personal decisions.
Absolutely.
Same thing with Anthony over there. So, and then your young talent, I think you guys are honestly like 3 or 4 years away from being really good, especially if Washington stays there for that long.
Okay. Yeah, because we just kind of assumed, so Washington's here this year, next year, and then he's gone in theory. So we didn't know if maybe after next season is where they get a young manager and just give him the keys to the kingdom, which I think they should have done with Phil Nevin. I know Todd and I have never agreed on that, and a lot of the organization would never agree with me. But I thought Phil Nevin deserved more of a chance than he got, but I think he'll get one.
Also, here's the thing. I mean, what's your front office doing? If your front office is like, hey, I want Washington for 2 years, then we're going to go find the next young guy. Well, great. Well, what's Washington building? Mm-hmm. Phil Nevin was probably building something, but he had he had 2 people sitting there, and he's trying to figure out, okay, what direction we're going in. The organization said, no, we want to go in a different direction. See, that's the thing is, if the organization and GM, the GM and when I say organization, I mean the front office GM, not the owner. If he basically gives the keys to the manager and says, I believe in what you want to do, well, it's going to take you 2 or 3 years to get there. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to, unless you already have a culture. And we know the Angels, don't have a culture right now.
Of course.
You know what? So you need a culture. You need to have, like, we're a hard nosed team. We're a laid back team. Whatever it is, this is what we are. And you need a manager to sit there and develop it. You know, you need a front office to let them believe in the manager, what he's doing, and give him. You need 3 or 4 years to let a manager really put his foot down and say, here you go. Washington's going to come in and he's happy to be here. He wants to be a manager again. He's going to see what the Angels have. Like I said, his probably philosophy is, I'm going to see what I have the first half, and then I'm going to really jump on everybody the second half. And then next year is going to be our year. Maybe we need to fill a few pieces, but this is, we'll start really competing. Okay, that's great. But what if the organization doesn't give you the pieces next year to go do it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now you're kind of struggling, and now your job's on the line. So now you're like, well, okay, I'm not going to develop anymore. I'm just going to try to win. So, and it's like, well, you sometimes need to develop before you can win.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Todd and I have said multiple times, where, we have a manager, but it's essentially the same manager because the front office keeps, butting in or whatever, not letting their manager do their thing. So,
yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Maybe you just need a new owner. I know he was trying to sell the team, and he never did sell it, did he?
No, he had unfinished business, Heath.
Yeah, that means he didn't get as much as he wanted.
Yeah, almost nearly $4 billion wasn't enough, considering about the team for what, $235 million. So
I don't know.
Go figure.
If I had $4 or $5 billion, I'd give it to him to run the team.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Heath. Thank you for coming on. We took way more time than we thought. We really appreciate you. Be generous with that. Where can our audience find you? Where can people,
Ring the Bell podcast. Me and my son do it. We also have co-host Nick the once in a while. We're just an old It's funny thing is, if you listen to us, and if my son goes off, he does once in a while. He's 20 years old, turns 21 this year, and he acts like everybody should be perfect. And I'm like, no, guys are trying. They're trying to do this. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes we get into arguments, but it's fun arguments, I think.
That's cool.
But it's you can check that out. And I have all the social media. I'm not really active very much. So that's about it. I like doing this. I like having fun. I like, being on different guys' podcasts, and just love watching baseball.
Well, we appreciate the perspective. Hopefully we can do this again. Maybe when the Padres make the playoffs, you can catch our audience up, because naturally our fans like to jump on the Padres bandwagon. So
there you go.
Yeah. Well, for Todd Fox and the Lone Star Halo and Heath Bell, we appreciate your time again, Heath. And again, look forward to seeing you down the line, and good luck with the Padres.
All right. Thanks. Good luck with the California Angels.
Yes, please bring us back. All right.